What's up, Liron here, and today we're painting Alvaro Castagnet. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. And today, as I mentioned, we're gonna paint Alvaro Castagnet. I already showed you this painting. Now, I want to show you the process for two main reasons. First, I got a lot of criticism for it and I wanted to address some of it. So first, he does have a fifth finger here, okay? It's just outside the frame. It is, in fact, just outside the frame. And when I decided on how to crop it, I was like, should I? Because that was the perfect way to cut it. I was like, should I leave it like that? Or then people will say funny stuff like, oh, he only has 4 fingers. And I was like, nah, people won't do that. Well, they did. So in any case, I wanted just to talk about that now. Second, and this is the most important, I challenged myself with this portrait. First, the quality of the reference photo wasn't as good, unfortunately, but I wanted to challenge myself to try different colors. Now, my initial idea was, I'm going to try to use the colors that Alvaro likes to use in his work to paint him. That'll be really cool. So you can see me using a bit of a more cadmium-ish red. But the problem was that I used phthalo blue, and you can see it here. It was a big mistake because Alvaro uses mostly French ultramarine or ultramarine blue. And so I wasn't able to get the same colors that he does. I don't know why I didn't put enough, I guess. I wasn't focused enough, I guess, because I did prepare and I did test the colors out and I was like, it's gonna be okay. And I think I didn't want to use the French ultramarine because it's harder to produce darker values with it, but it was a mistake. I should have. So what I want you to see in this portrait is me kind of struggling with doing a bit of a different color combination, okay? And we'll talk a bit about the process. I'm going to run through most of it in time-lapse, but I'll give you the main points, okay? So with that being said, enough blubbering, let's get started. So starting out with the first wash, now I didn't mention earlier, but I originally recorded this on the iPhone because I wanted to test out the quality from up close. Also shared this in an IGTV video. So just for the start of it, I'm skipping some of the mixing because you can't see it anyway. The video is about double speed, generally speaking, just setting up some of the context of this painting. And I'm using 3 paints, again, phthalo blue, permanent red, which is kind of a cadmium red imitation, and nickel azo yellow just barely. And again, my plan was originally to use the same paints that Alvaro uses in his work, but I kind of messed it up, so we'll have to disregard that. What I do like, and I want to give a good balance of positive and negative things about this process. So I will say the one of the positive things really is that I'm not afraid to push the values right from the get. This is something I've been practicing on doing, getting everything to be as dark or as light as necessary immediately. Now when you do that, and if you know Stan Miller, you know this approach of putting in the values as you see them, you may run into one issue, and that is the paint is still wet. So you place in a light value next to a dark value, and what do you know? The dark value seeps into the light value. So these are things you have to take into consideration as well when working like this, as well as edges. So if you can, and Stan uses mainly, I think, hot press paper. So hot press paper, I think the paint tends to stay wetter for longer because of the surface. So that's actually good for this kind of thing because you can just allow it some time, and while you put in the values, you don't have to worry about edges. But right now, you can see on the left, I got this weird blossom because I wasn't careful enough. On the very left side, I'm aware of an edge that's going to dry, but I wasn't too scared of it because it's going to be super dark there, okay? So these are all things you need to take into consideration. By the way, I will promise I promise to soon do another real-time demo. I know you love these. This isn't real-time. You see me working and explaining while I'm working, while I'm looking at my own recording of myself painting. But what I want to do is more real-time narrated demos because I know a lot of people find them very helpful. So now you see how when I put the darker value,
it doesn't blend in with the previous wash, not this part I'm doing, but the part I did just before. And the reason why is that it's already dry. So that's a problem when you allow it too much time to dry and then you come back and it's still. Now look, when I put in that dark value in, it disperses evenly because the paint was still somewhat wet. Okay, so this is all, like, watercolor is all about getting that balance of water and to paint ratio, timing. I plan on doing probably this Saturday, I will do a video on wet and wet technique. I think I will. I may do a real-time demo. I still need to decide. But my original plan was to do a wet and wet tutorial. Now, you will see there, I'm talking about timing a lot. Timing is really important when it comes to wet and wet, because you have to wait the right amount of time so that when you come back with the paint, it disperses the way you wanted it to. And what I see a lot of really impressive painting masters, as in my show, Painting Masters, is they have very good control of that whole timing thing, the timing issue. They know when to go back and put in the paint, or the paint adjacent to the paint they just put. Another thing that's a major step is just knowing how to move along the different areas. And this is something I've been struggling a lot in my first year in watercolor, because no one talks about that kind of thing. No one teaches that. And that is the issue of the process. So should I start with, for example, this painting? Should I start with the hair? Should I start from the forehead? Should I start from the darkest spot to the lightest? Now, it is common knowledge that you should work from light to dark, but aside from that general line, I don't know, what if the light area is the area I need to work on last because of the unique structure of the scene? How do I do that? And if I paint a scene, should I paint the sky first, the houses, the foliage? It has always been a big mystery to me until I started figuring these things out. And I think what the real masters have is the ability to know what to do when. So there's this demo of Joseph Zbukvic here on YouTube that I'm sure many of you have seen in Color in Your Life. And he creates what I think is a really good painting. And there you can see the way he structures it is in a way that's possible for him to cover up everything, keep the edges fresh, not have weird blossoms and stuff like that. And he just works in a smart way. So yeah. So that's one thing that comes with experience. Now notice I'm starting to drop some really thick red paint because I wanted to mimic the way and the style of Alvaro. He paints really passionately with strong paints, strong hot and cool, warm and cool mixes. He's not afraid to do that, and I wanted to kind of convey the same thing. In the process of doing that, I experienced some challenges, so it's not as even as it could be. And I'm working on the fingers here. And really, I'm trying to simplify, as you can see here, what I see from the reference, because it is, and I may have messed up when I didn't include that last finger. I just cropped it just above, slightly above it, but in any case. So yeah, now I'm putting in the red. It's going to be some green soon. And this green, by the way, I love this green. I love this combination. The phthalo blue with the nickel azo yellow looks so good. By the way, another mistake I've made, I shouldn't have used nickel azo yellow. I should have used something more like ochre, which he uses a lot. I think he loves the transparent ochre. And Daniel Smith developed a special one for him. Yeah, I should have probably used an ochre. I even have raw sienna that looks a little ochre-ish, which could have worked really well. So that's another thing I would have changed. But you have to remember, again, that this stage, generally speaking, is not representational of the final piece at all. Everything that looks like it may have been a big mistake now will become much less significant later on. The reason why, it's all going to dry much lighter than you think. Even now that it's already starting to dry, it's still not an indication of just how dry, light it's going to dry. And then everything will be less important, and you'll have some warm areas, some cool areas, but nothing more than that. The values won't be too sharp, and it won't be too dangerous. Like, it looks like I went too dark, but I haven't. One more thing I wanted to talk about, and that is something that I've been asked about a lot. By the way, I'm taking a very loose impressionistic approach with the background, especially because I don't want it to take too much attention from the face. So that's me doing very light work there. But what I've been asked about is the paper. The paper buckles. People, it's so funny. People see my videos, for example, on IGTV. Here it doesn't happen as much. And I get a lot of comments of like, the paper buckle, you use too much water, you use a bad paper that doesn't, it's not meant for it. And it's like, dude, just look at the video. It's like the paper it did buckle, but that's normal. And watercolor paint buckles. I'm using Saunders Waterford, 300 grams. That's like a really, really good paper. So it kind of pains me to see that people think that it's not. And then I send them the link to the final painting, and they're like, oh, okay. Like that shows that it dried perfectly flat. And this is what I say. Don't worry if your paper buckles a bit. If it's high quality enough, and if you taped it, it will stretch back. And it will be okay. So I don't stretch my paper. I don't dip it in water or all of that thing. You know, when I just got started in watercolor, and you may relate to this if you're a beginner. When I just got started, I kept seeing people saying stretching the paper. I could not, for the life of me, realize or understand what they were talking about. What does it mean to stretch the paper? By the way, sorry about the lack of focus. It's gonna be better in just a moment. But like, what is it? What does it mean to stretch it? How do you stretch paper? That was so weird to me, the whole idea. And then I watched a few videos that said you put the paper in water, you dip it fully, and then you tape it. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That looks not so fun, and I don't want it to drip water all over my place. So I never did it. I never stretched my paper. I never even tried, I think. And I may try in the future just for the hell of it, but really, I don't see any reason to. The paper is really good. I just put it as it is, and it works well. You know, maybe I may be mistaken, and maybe stretching is good, and maybe it has some benefits. But I'm gonna try and see how it goes. For now, I never had to use it, and the result always, the paper always flattens back. You know, a lot of people are worried about it, say the paper's buckle, and I think I messed up, but it's not the case. You just allow it for 3 or 4 hours. And yeah, that's enough of that. I think I extensively explained. I just wanted you to notice something. And I think another good thing with this process is I was very, very confident with the brush stroke, and I put everything in fewer brush strokes. So it has this feeling of freshness to it, aside from the fact that the colors are a bit, I don't want to say muddy, but just, I don't know what to call them. But in any case, aside from that, it does have that that quality in the background, for example. It has the quality of something that's been placed there in one go without too much mucking around. And I think that's a really good result. By the way, now I just killed the highlight in the eyes. You know, the white of the eye is almost never white. It always reflects the environment. By the way, you can see my shoe now, and now you can't. So that's a bit of a unique angle there. But I think the quality here is a little better because of the unique angle. Here you can see some red and blue mixed together on the brush. That's really cool. My iPhone films at a better resolution than not resolution, but better quality than my camera, which really raises some questions if it's time to replace my camera, because I've been filming a lot with my iPhone and it just looks better. I don't know why. The camera, and I tried playing around with the settings because I feel like I changed something or I messed it up somehow. Because I didn't feel like that in the past, but now I think maybe because I started seeing the higher quality of my iPhone, I'm like, oh, okay, that's better. So I don't know. It's really strange, but for some reason my camera, I'm not that pleased with the quality, and it shows in the last video. So maybe I'll just get a new camera. I think that'll be a wise decision. It's been a long time since I bought my own camera. I think, well, a long time, 2 years, maybe 3 years, something like that. So it may be time for newer gear. So yeah, now I'm adding again a strong shadow because I haven't pushed this area to be dark enough. If you look at the reference, it is really dark, and my painting does not do that justice. So I'm going over everything, and now you can see why I told you that the first wash isn't all that important. Notice how this second wash that's much darker, and I think here you can see the more confident brush stroke and brushwork. This wash is much more significant. It's much more important. It's going to stand out much more than the previous wash. So now you see that I'm putting the red next to the blue and just touching it gently, and then you can see how it all mixes together. I had a really long day and an annoying one at that, because I still haven't painted. That makes me cranky always. So as soon as I finish with this video and finish uploading it, I'm gonna go and paint. It's not good for me not to paint. For like yesterday, I just didn't have time. I had to work on other things. But I'm okay with it, because for the last few days I did paint quite a lot, so I'm fine with that. Now take a look at the eyes here. As I mentioned, a bit of green yellow in them, which I like. I think that works really well. Very pleased with how it turned out, and I do think there is quite a resemblance of Alvaro. I do think his character shows through it. If you're wondering about the photo, I actually took a screenshot from the DVD I bought of his, instructional DVD, and just used that. Now usually when I use these kinds of pictures that I don't own really, I don't monetize the video. So this video is not going to be monetized. I'm not going to put ads on it. Some people do ask me occasionally like how to use the pictures and stuff like that. If you're using a picture for the purpose of review, critique, it falls under fair use on YouTube. But what I will not do, and you could monetize, by the way, it doesn't prevent you from monetizing it, but I won't. I prefer not to in these situations. It just feels better. All of my Painting Masters series, if I recall correctly, are not monetized. I don't put ads on them. When I say monetized, I just mean that there are ads on them. Hopefully that makes sense, because I decide as the video uploader whether I want to put ads or not. You know, in the past I wasn't. I didn't put any ads on my videos. In the last year or so I started to. In the last 6 months maybe even. But in any case, I'm not monetizing videos. I'm not, I don't feel comfortable with. If it's 100% my work, I will. Painting Masters, also, I don't monetize any of those videos because it's works by other people. I don't feel comfortable with that. But if it's my own creation based on my own photo, I feel 100% sure that I'm okay with it. In any case, notice how many colors are in the hand. Now, there's a bit of a tricky thing going on compositionally, because on the one hand, pun intended, we have his hand really close to us, but on the second hand, the center of focus clearly is his face. So you have to walk that fine line between getting enough interest on his hand, conveying its shape properly, making sure it reads well, but then on the other hand, you don't want to go overboard there and take a lot of attention away from the face. And I think I did achieve that good balance here. I think it works really well. And also notice how if you just take a few steps back from the video, it will still look good. The hand will read realistically, considerably realistically. And that's despite me not putting that many details there. So I'm taking a very suggestive, even almost abstract approach with this, and I'm happy that I was able to get it done. Now, and that it works that way. Now, in about half a minute, we'll be done with the process, and I'll show you, because now you see this at a slight angle. So I'm going to show you the final piece right from the front, and that way the proportions will also work better. His head may look a little inflated near the bottom, and that's because of the angle at which I filmed this. But again, overall, very pleased with the process. Feels like I did a good job. Some of his teeth are barely showing, but hopefully I'll fix that in some kind of magical way. Or I think it actually dried really okay, so I don't know. I'm not too worried about that. Oh yeah, now you can see them. It's just they're a little light. So my signature, and with that being said, I can show you the final result. I hope you enjoyed this process, and now we can wrap it up.
So this is it. I hope you enjoyed seeing this process, and I hope you learned something new from seeing me trying out a new combination or something like this. I really wasn't sure about all of the greens while working on it, so That's one thing that definitely scared me. Now, I don't know if you can see this, so I'm gonna hold it up close. His eyes have a bit of yellow in them, which I think was actually a really good and smart choice to use. I think it's very original. I haven't seen a lot of these kinds of color selections, but most of my color selections are a little funky and weird. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget, if you still haven't, to subscribe, hit the bell button to receive notifications of new videos. I post tons of stuff, and in 2 days I will post probably a wet in wet tutorial, so or I may switch it up with a demo. I have either one of two, but I'm gonna post some more techniques and basic watercolor stuff that I think you'll really enjoy, so you wanna make sure you're tuned in to that. I also wanna try out a new experiment of doing maybe 2 weeks of just doing quick painting demos and nothing else. So no paint show, no painting masters, no drawing, no nothing, just that. So let me know what you think of this. If you've been following Gary Tucker, a really talented painter here on YouTube as well, then you know he only does processes. I'm thinking of doing that. So let me know what you think in a comment below. I've been talking a lot today, so I want to wish you an amazing weekend, amazing day, night, whenever you watch this. And I will talk to you again and see you again in another vid real soon.